Hello there, and welcome to my experience with fighting 100 duels in Star Wars Battlefront 2. Here you can see duel number 1 playing out while I provide some context to this video. I took about a 3 or 4 month break from Battlefront, which has made me pretty rusty at dueling, as you will soon see. My parry timing was off, my movement was erratic, my hook swings never landed, and even my health management was subpar. When you add all this up and throw on a really freaking good Dooku, yeah, it becomes no shocker that I lost Duel 1. Duel 2 was against the same guy but as Kylo. This fight was a lot closer thanks to my parry timing getting better. I got some pretty harmful hits on my opponent, which even brought him near death this time. Unfortunately though, Kylo landed even more blows on me. Even with a character nowhere near as good as Dooku, this player is just way better than me, hence why Duel 2 is another loss. Duel 3 my opponent was Grievous, which I found to be even more dangerous than his Kylo. Throughout these 100 duels, it is my goal to learn from my opponents and myself to improve my skills so that not only do they meet what it was before my break, but also surpasses it. I want to get good enough to where I can go toe-to-toe with incredible duelists like my opponent, and come out on top. But for now, I'm 3 for 3 on losses. Before we go on any further, I should probably explain the rules I set for these 100 duels. For what counts as a duel, the duel must be a 1v1 between two Saber heroes. Any disadvantage, such as a teammate randomly attacking the opponent, or one duelist having significantly lower health at the start of the duel, will still be counted if the person who is at the disadvantage still wins. Oh, and of course, no death by ledging will be counted. For personal restrictions, I'm going by some common tournament rules. This means no glitches like Kylo's 4-hit Frenzy are allowed, and certain star cards that are deemed to be too strong are not allowed to be used. These cards are health regeneration cards on Dooku and Kenobi, Flesh is Weak on Grievous, and all cards on Vader. Only I'm not allowed to use these cards, so my opponents are free to use whatever, which is probably why you'll hear me complain a lot about carded Vaders in these 100 duels. Speaking of which, duel number 4 was my first encounter with the carded Vader. Vader with star cards on is absolutely overpowered and feels almost impossible to kill. You'll be hearing me complain plenty about how broken Vader is throughout the whole video. This guy was not nearly as good as my previous opponent, but he was also the most broken character in the entire game, so it doesn't really matter. He was just a spammy Vader, which did allow me to get close to killing him, but not quite close enough. Duel 5 was against a pretty spammy Grievous. His spamminess actually nearly killed me at the start of the duel. Still, I recovered and was able to set myself up for the win by exploiting his over-aggression and getting easy hits in. Well, I would have won if I didn't totally sell the match by neglecting my stamina, which allowed him to pretty easily kill me. This next duel is against another hook swing loving Dooku. For those of you unfamiliar with the hook swing, it's basically just jumping behind your opponent, then attacking mid-air to get a hit behind their block. This duel was actually interrupted by an Anakin, but it had no serious effect, so I'm still counting it. In the end, I got Dooku a little low, but he got me lower. Ugh, when will my losing streak end? In Duel 7, I won! First time is the dark side too, which thankfully removes the threat of a Vader. My teammate's duel was kind of overlapping with mine, so I tried to get my opponent to follow me somewhere else to duel. Instead, he force-pulled me like a jerk and nearly killed me. For that, he paid dearly. Same guy, same story in Duel 8. My parries are still pretty good, and my intuition with when this guy would attack was solid this duel, leading to a quick and decisive victory. I started Duel 9 with packing on a ton of damage on Rey. I kept getting her within a sneeze away from death, but could never land a killing blow. This is where working on hook swings and other game-ending techniques would have been incredibly helpful for ending the duel. I never did find that final blow I was looking for, but Rey did. Duel number 10 was against a pretty decent Kylo player. A useful tip for dueling is to use some cover to regenerate stamina safely. After all, you don't want to leave yourself easily exposed to a knockdown, especially when just one force pull is all it takes to end a match. Another carded Vader for Duel 11. Hooray. Vader is insanely tanky to where I barely can even make a scratch on him. I can't blame my performance solely on the brokenness of Vader though. I should have been more patient with when to attack since I left myself open often and took some unnecessary hits. My defense was lacking too in both my parrying and my health management, which allowed Vader to have the advantage practically the whole duel. Even when I did get some hits in and took the advantage, I failed to follow up with more hits, which is where hook swings would have become very handy. As much as I wanted to blame this loss on the cards, I knew that my plethora of shortcomings were what was really to blame. I forgot to record Duel 12, but I do know I got a win, so yeah, we'll just go with it. Duel 13 was a close one. I started slightly below full health, but I doubt it would have altered the outcome too much. The whole duel I was over-aggressive, which did get my opponent pretty low sometimes, but also caused me to take too many hits. In the end, I got Dooku down to a sliver of health, but one well-timed lightning stun made it all for naught. My opponent was the one to suffer from over-aggression in Duel 14. I'm still pretty solid when it comes to taking out offensive players like this one, as Kylo never backed off to heal, which made for a quick and decisive win for myself. Duel 15 was more of the same as 14. Kylo was too aggressive at the start and could not defend at the end, granting me another win. I was pretty clumsy in Duel 16, which does not bode well with an offensively strong Dooku. I've been kinda harsh on aggression these past 2 rounds, but note that when done right, aggression is a very powerful tool. This Dooku, for example, had excellent control on his offense/aggression. He attacked whenever there was an opening and punished my offense whenever I got too careless. Dooku also knew when to back off after getting hit and defended well enough to not let me take control of the duel. That defense is integral to having an effective offense, and a strong combination of the two usually decides the duel. Duel 17, we're so back. Duel 18, it's so over. In 17, I applied pretty good pressure to a pretty good Grievous. Eventually, he was whittled down and taken out. Duel 18, I was too cocky and left myself open too much. Plus, it was against a max level Vader, so I hardly had a chance. Respect to him for not using cards, though. Duel 19 was against a player that almost definitely was new to the game. This is a perfect example of my greatest flaw when dueling, which is getting arrogant and cocky. I knew that I should beat this guy easily, so my brain basically just turned off and I went all in on attack. This actually almost got me killed in the duel, but thankfully I locked in and brought it back. Same guy in Duel 20, but I was definitely more careful this time. Like all my other flaws and techniques in dueling, I want to improve my cockiness so I don't throw so many games. No throwing this round though, only wins here. Duel 21. This is exactly why I hate carded Vaders. I played the duel pretty well. Was it perfect? No, of course not. But I attacked and applied pressure constantly while still backing off and being mindful of my health when needed. It's just that Vader is so stupid tanky. No matter how much more I hit him than he hit me, which was a lot, I still could barely get his health to budge. While I was packing on damage through parries, hooks, and elegant maneuvering, my opponent would get nearly all of his damage from lightsaber throws, chokes, and blindly spamming. What ticks me off the most is that I lost to a combo of the aforementioned overpowered choke and a glitch. After being choked, I tried to activate my defensive rush for a hit, but it stalled out and, well, you can see what happened. Already being ticked off from that mess of a match, my opponent has the audacity to message me trash talk despite winning mostly due to his character. The Battlefront 2 community gets a bad rap because of people like this, so please, next time you duel someone, consider sending them a GG or something positive rather than the toxic trash talk this guy spews out. Now I was just angry, and my work towards patience and over-aggression took a hit from my frustrations. I was mostly on attack mode in Duel 22, which of course caused me to take some hits. Still, the aggression seemed to be too much for my opponent, so I took the win. Duel 23 was another one I forgot to record. All my notes said was that it was an easy win. My anger was still present in Duel 24, which caused me to severely underestimate my opponent's parrying abilities. After barely surviving the parry onslaught, I was able to get back on my feet and get my opponent low. His parries were good, but mine were better. In Duel 25, I simply packed in a lot of damage in the beginning, which Luke could not recover from. Luke spammed a lot too, which made for an easy finish. Duel 26 was again against an easy player. Of course, I still took unnecessary hits from my frustration, but my techniques were starting to get noticeably better than in Duel 1. My parries were solid, hooks and even double hooks started to be used, ability usage was more effective, and even my movement had become more deliberate. In fact, with a well-timed dodge, I moved behind my enemy and delivered the killing blow. At this point in my journey to 100 duels, I was feeling pretty discouraged. Between losing to overpowered, carded Vaders and actually skilled players, my performance was not where I hoped it would be. So did I simply accept my mediocrity and allow fate to continue to bulldoze me with juiced up goth dads? Heck no! Cue that training montage. I loaded myself into the arcade mode to practice all manner of skills. I hammered out the timing and intricacies of hook swings so even the fanciest of Dookus would turn their heads. I studied up the timing of parries so no attack on me would go unpunished. I nailed down the usage of abilities so no dash would go without some damage and no push would go without extra punishment. I soared above my previous skill with character-specific techniques from bunny hops to super lunges. All of this and more I worked on to finally become the duelist I wish to be. After applying these skills in a few heroes vs villains matches, and with a couple of melted Anakins later, I felt ready to put my training to the test in some real duels. With renewed energy, I took on Duel 27. This was against an OK Maul that really tested my patience. He hid behind his block and abilities most of the time, so getting hits in was a little difficult. Eventually though, those hits did get in and my opponent fell. You can clearly see my training paying off in Duel 28. I landed some great parries, my hooks were more accurate and better executed, and my lunge training even paid off. This was all clearly too much for Dooku to handle, netting me another win. Duel 29, I was able to take the advantage at the start of the duel and simply never gave it back. I kept the pressure up on Dooku the whole round, and eventually, he cracked. Duel 30 was against the same Dooku, so should be another easy win, and ow! From 700 health to just 295 in 2 hits is insane. Dooku can punish arrogance so harshly, which can end duels in literally 3 hits. Thankfully, I was able to recover and use Yoda's unblockable dashes to whittle down my opponent's health. These dashes are extremely helpful in duels in order to lower the max amount of health that the opponent can regenerate. So helpful, in fact, that they actually won me the duel. A very good Grievous was my opponent in Duel 31. I was able to punish his aggression in the first half with a ton of parries, which got him decently low. Unfortunately, his aggression became too much for me to handle. He hit me with a flurry of attacks, which I defended and punished poorly. I also left myself too open, which Grievous quickly capitalized on, causing me to lose. In Duel 32, you know him, you hate him, it's Carded Vader! Yay. This is another duel where my training really showed up though. My hooks and parries were just a lot better than before, and I took the time to back off and heal when needed. Unfortunately, I got a little careless and walked right into a choke that I knew was coming. Then for some reason, I did not back off to recover, which, predictably, led to my death. Again, please don't be toxic in Battlefront and message people trash like this guy. It's so annoying. Also, kinda weird being recognized by you guys in game randomly. If you want to message me after a game, then I'd love to hear it as long as it's not toxic garbage like this. Oh, by the way, he thought I wouldn't put this in the video because I lost, but here we are, aren't we? Anyway, Duel 33 has helped me work on my patience. I began to take unnecessary hits, which made me realize that I must back off and just heal. Working on this has helped me win many duels, and I'd highly recommend that you work on the art of disengaging if you want to improve your own dueling. This duel ultimately ended with a 3-hit saber combo. Duel 34 was against a surprisingly good low-level duelist. This duelist's parrying ability and movement definitely goes to show that levels do not dictate skill. In the end, this raid was surprisingly good, but not quite good enough. Somehow, Duel 35 is the first time I've played as Vader in these 100 duels, and boy does he feel good to use. I mean seriously, it feels like bullying, and I don't even have cards. Needless to say, noob plus Vader equals death. I'm lumping Duels 36 and 37 together because they both show how oddly aggressive you can be with Grievous, and it works. I mean, I was just clobbering my opponents the whole time with attacks and hardly felt any punishment. Of course, these players being newer makes this more effective, but it's still pretty interesting. Anyway, I won both duels, but more importantly, I finally found an actual use for Relentless Advance in duels. Duel 38 was against the first Flesh's Weak Grievous, which is just under Vader in being overpowered. Thankfully, my training pulled through here, and I landed some hooks that definitely led me to take home the win. Death I am! Duel 39 is a great example of some strengths and pitfalls of Yoda. Yoda's dashes are again so good for providing pressure and can easily put the enemy on the back foot. However, when Yoda's on the back foot, you can really feel the pressure and it gets very hard to defend. Thankfully, not too hard, because in this duel, I brought it back and won. I started off Duel 40 a little clumsy and lost a lot of health. Thankfully, I was able to slowly chip Anakin down as he did not back off well enough to heal. Here, patience was on my side, as it allowed me to get in a lot more hits on him than he did on me. Eventually, with a nice hook dash and Maul's beautiful ability combo, I took the win. I tried out a varied playstyle in Duel 41. I spent some of the duel just trying to figure out my opponent, and sometimes not even attacking. Working on stuff like this has definitely helped me with my overaggression problem, which might be partially why I'm winning so many more duels. Oh, and remember kids, always watch your stamina, it might save your life. Remember how I said that my overaggression got better? Yeah, well, never mind that. I was absolutely dominating this guy for most of the duel, but got too cocky and the turns started to table. Definitely sucks that what killed me was Anakin's special 4th ability, Retribution. Thanks, Dice. Duel 43, I was back with a vengeance. I took a lot more care to back off in this duel as I tried to restore my honor. With a freeze comboed with a frenzy, I had finally slayed the Avatar, I mean Rey. Yeah, Rey. A very skilled Kylo was my opponent in Duel 44, and he put everything I had been working on to the test. I feel that this Kylo helped show the improvement I have made so far in the video. At first, I would have been stomped by a player like this, but now I'm holding my own against him. I was able to parry effectively to punish his aggression, then follow up with hook swings to pack on more damage. I attacked when I was able to, but backed off when I needed to. The duel was very close, but thanks to my training, I was the last man standing. I must have made my opponent mad, because in Duel 45 he pulled out the Carded Vader. I still fought well and held my own, but I knew my chances of winning were slim. Yet another thing I hate about Carded Vaders is the fact that if one of two similarly skilled players uses a Vader with cards, then they are almost certainly going to win, because again, he is stupid strong. So yeah, I lost. Duel 46 was another close one. At the start of the duel, I was hitting my opponent pretty hard. The whole duel was filled with energy, which made it so much more fun. My opponent did start to get damage on me though, so we were soon about even. At one point I knocked Kylo down, and likely would have killed him if he didn't land in the dang window. Instead, fate had different plans, and it was my opponent who did the killing. Duel 47 was a glorious, glorious duel. For for this duel was against a carded Vader, a rather skilled carded Vader at that, but this time things ended differently. My strategy for carded Vaders by this point was to play more on the defensive side. This way there's less room to be obliterated by Vader's powerful swings and choke, while also forcing Vader to attack more and leave himself vulnerable to punishment. What won me the duel was the very same retribution ability that took me out a few duels ago. Now I am become Skywalker, the destroyer of Vaders. Duel 48. Gremlin I am. Kill you I must. Yes. Duel 49 is where I wish ranked dueling was made in Battlefront. Don't get me wrong, absolutely destroying people is usually pretty fun, but I find that fighting players that provide a nice challenge is usually a lot more enjoyable and rewarding. Plus, it would help new players not get completely discouraged after experiencing, well, this. Again, a carded Vader challenges me in Duel 50. Another strategy I like for fighting Vader is to simply drain his stamina, then load him up with damage. This was particularly effective against this player, where I was able to drain his stamina 3 times. Even Vader can't survive that. Duel number 51 was against a level 8 Vader that started to attack me well before I was ready. Being a little ticked off from this, any remorse I had from the skill gap vanished, and I absolutely destroyed the guy. I feel a little bad for Duel 52. The guy was definitely new to dueling, and I was not. I was distracted in Duel 53 because I was in a party chat with a bunch of toxic trash-talking 2v1ers. This probably led me to be a bit less aggressive in the duel, which in this case was actually a bad thing. Aggression is needed to fight Obi-Wans in order to lower their health enough to do permanent damage. Of course, backing off is just as important, but a little more aggression could have helped me out a lot. It doesn't help that my opponent played defensively really well, which started to really run down the clock. I became much more aggressive once I realized there was only 1 minute left in the match. This did start to make some progress, but ultimately it was too little, too late. My opponent and I used the whole 5 minutes of the match, resulting in the first draw, 53 duels into the challenge. This Kylo shows exactly why it is important to back off when hurt in Duel 54. Basically, the whole duel he kept attacking, which allowed me to get him on the brink of death. Then I kept him there, until I eventually finished him off. Duel 55 was a pretty close one. Looking back at the footage, I'm not sure why I had such a hard time with this Grievous. He definitely was good, but I feel as if I had beaten better players more handily by this point. I think part of it was that I did not attack great in this duel, but apparently my attacks were still good enough considering I was the one to walk away with my life. I don't know what I was doing in Duel 56. In the start of the duel, I was attacking so poorly and randomly, which got me really low. The only way I could win after that is to play the long game and slowly take out Dooku. For some reason though, I still attacked and parried with a passionate strike. Yeah, I deserved to lose this one. I locked in for Duel 57 after that loss. This Maul was dismantled by my Anakin. Well, that is, whenever he attacked. My opponent basically only used abilities the whole duel, which made hitting him a little bit harder at times. Still, I got in more than enough parries and knockdowns to take him out. I got my sweet, sweet revenge in Duel 58. I definitely was more careful with attacking this time around. I waited for openings to slam damage on Kylo. This time, the Passionate Strike won me the duel, not lost it. Duel 59 is the first time I played as Rey in these 100 duels, which means now I have played as all the lightsaber heroes in the video. If you've seen my ranking of all the duelists in Battlefront 2, then you will know that I do not like Rey very much. She is definitely the duelist that I am the worst at, which is probably why I blew such a large lead. This Kylo got some huge bursts of damage on me, which is pretty hard to recover from, especially when you're dead. Duel 60 was an interesting one. I would say that I actually played the duel very well. I hit a lot of technical stuff and was aggressive the whole time, but not in a way that endangered myself. I was slowly withering away Anakin's health with dashes, saber throws, and combos, but then Anakin just deleted all of my health. If he didn't have on massive strikes to improve his damage, I bet this duel would have ended very differently. I came back with a vengeance in Duel 61. I played very offensively, which kept this Yoda always on the back foot. The pressure kept piling on and on until eventually my opponent was crushed. There is an insane amount of interference at the start of Duel 62, but technically, under the rules I set at the beginning of the video, I can still count this. This duel was a weird and sloppy one, and I'm not even going to try to explain it. The important part is that I won. Duel 63 is easily one of my favorite duels in this video, and ironically it's against a very skilled carded Vader. The whole duel was high energy and filled with lightsaber swinging all about. I was able to match the Vader's offensiveness in the start of the duel while also punishing him, giving me the upper hand. I was able to keep up the pressure on Vader while avoiding leaving myself open for any big attacks. This ensured that the Vader cannot take back the advantage and put the pressure on me. I mentioned earlier that draining Vader's stamina then going in for some huge damage was a useful strategy for fighting him, and it sure did help a ton in this fight. Doing this twice allowed me to get him low enough where killing him would only be 2 or 3 hits away. Then with only seconds left on the clock, the Vader tripped up, like literally tripped, and I landed the killing blow. I set a goal at the start of the video to become the best I've ever been at dueling, and one skilled carded Vader later, I definitely think I'm getting there. Duel 64 was an exact rematch with Kenobi vs. Vader. This time I was not able to secure the advantage, which led to Vader being a lot more aggressive. That aggression made it difficult for me to deal large amounts of damage to get my opponent's max health down. Although I wasn't able to take him out this time, he couldn't finish me off either, leading to a draw. In hopes of making this video not 5 hours long, I'm going to go into a bit of a speed round for some of these upcoming duels. A different guy as Maul is who I fought in Duel 65. This guy was pretty easy, and with a few parries, was also dead. Back as Rey Palpatine in Duel 66. Thankfully, it was the same Maul as before, so I was able to make my win rate not 0% with Rey. Duel 67 is the first duel on Hoth for the challenge. A not-so-skilled carded Vader was my opponent here, and I bet you can guess how that ended for him, judging off the previous, more seasoned Vader. I'm fighting another newer player in Duel 68. It's definitely worth watching dueling guides if you're new to Battlefront. Hey, you could even watch mine. Not this guy, though. He can't. He's dead. It's Duel 69, and I once again pounded my opponent into the ground. He definitely should have kept his guard up more and backed off, but he didn't, so he died. Duel 70 has basically the same comments as Duel 69. If he defended more, then he probably would have lasted longer. Carded Vader returns in Duel 71. I again exploited Vader's low stamina while relentlessly pursuing him. My offense shut my opponent down, and goes to show that I don't need Kenobi to take out Vader. Duel 72 was an annoying one. I got Kylo pretty low pretty quickly with Anakin's knockdown combo, then I just kept up the pressure on him. Then, out of nowhere, the spectating Maul chucks me across the desert in the middle of the duel, which is pretty nuisancey. Then, Kylo gets a freeze on me which absolutely should not have hit. Then, Kylo does not get knocked down by a repulse that absolutely should have hit. Now I'm pretty low, but not quite low enough to do one more combo to win the match. Duel 73 brings some justice. Here's what you get for interrupting duels. Nothing but death. Kylo started Duel 74 improperly without being ready for Kermit's wrath. This is a nice duel of me using Yoda to just zoom around my opposition. Clearly the youth has nothing on Yoda's generation. It's Rey vs. Carded Vader for Duel 75. It'd be nice to use my worst hero to beat the strongest character in the game, just as long as Kylo doesn't nearly kill me mid-duel. Anyway, I was able to keep chipping away at Vader's health, and with one mistimed choke, I took him out. Another newer player in Duel 76. What makes newer players so easy to take out is that I can be fully offensive against them and not be countered at all. It definitely made this guy a bit quicker at least. Duel 77 was going totally fine until my opponent decided to suddenly become Forrest Gump.
That day, for no particular reason, I decided to go for a little run.
Please never run in duels. It's super annoying and still won't save you from death.
Think not.
I once again forgot to record for Duel 78, but I do know I still won, so there's that. I might as well have taught Yoda how to tango in Duel 79, because I was dancing all around him. Dooku can really dish out a ton of damage quickly. Glad I'm not on the receiving end of it. I believe Duel 80 was against a Vader with no cards on for once. To check if a Vader has cards on, I usually just see if they have damage reduction when they use their bonus health ability. This Vader had no reduction, so probably no cards, and considering what's been happening to the carded Vaders, I'm sure you can figure out how this guy with no cards turned out. Duel 81 was against the same Vader. In this fight, I would always wait until the Vader wasted his choke before I'd start seriously attacking. This worked to get him pretty low, however I got a little clumsy at one point and took a significant amount of damage myself. I was able to keep the pressure up on Vader though, and keep the advantage, until eventually I defeated him. So Duel 82 was certainly one of the duels of all time. I had not lost a duel since Duel 60, and had only one draw since then, which is definitely leading me to get a bit cocky. Now this Dooku was super spammy, which means he should have been easy to take down, but I ended up getting slammed by the full force of his spamminess, which got me very low. I was able to also get him low too, so it shouldn't be too hard to finish him off. Unfortunately, as I said earlier, Dooku can do a lot of damage very quickly, and then this happened. Yeah, let's just move on. Duel 83 was against a different Dooku, who was actually good this time. I was definitely more focused in this duel. I was able to apply what I had been practicing with pacing myself in offense and defense, while also applying techniques like hooks to keep up damage. It's funny how I lose to the bad Dooku, but against the good Dooku, I win. Someone was a little angry at the start of Duel 84. Still not cool to start duels with a surprise force ability. Anyway, the guy defended very poorly. He just kept getting hit until he couldn't get hit no more. Bespin makes its first appearance 85 duels into the video. I kinda go back to being cocky in this one, but not too much so. I was still in control the whole time and eventually secured the win. Duel 86 was a pretty close one. I had some trouble managing my stamina as Vader throughout the duel. Being in such a cramped area made stamina an even bigger issue considering how it was more difficult to back off and create some space between my opponent and myself. This Kenobi never did capitalize much on my stamina issues, which is probably why he ended up not winning the duel. It was Dooku versus Luke in Duel 87. Luke does not have a great matchup against Dooku because of Luke only having 200 health regeneration, as compared to the standard 250. Combining this with Dooku's very high damage output, Luke's maximum health starts to drop rapidly. Tack on a skill gap and it makes sense that this Luke went down pretty quickly. Not until Duel 88 do we finally see Scarif in this video. Here I'm fighting a pretty good Anakin that played pretty defensively. Unfortunately for him, I was using Maul, which is by far the character that I'm the best at when it comes to cracking my opponent's defenses. Slowly I whittled him down, taking any opening that I could, until eventually I won the duel. Duel 89 was still against an Anakin, but with a different user this time. He was definitely newer to dueling, seeing as he did not much defense and didn't punish me when my stamina got low. Needless to say, I took another win. I got way too cocky in Duel 90 and lost the majority of my health at the start of the duel due to my reckless offense. I was able to keep fighting though, and eventually drained all of his stamina, and soon after, all of his health too. I crushed another carded Vader in Duel 91. He wasn't the greatest Vader ever, so all it took was a few parries and a bit of pressure for him to fold. I took a lot more hits in Duel 92. I wasn't able to totally take control of the duel at the start, so Vader was able to still fight back and get some good hits in. Not good enough hits though, because in the end, he was the one on the ground. Duel 93. It happened again. Was this a particularly good spammy Dooku? No, he was not. Does 550 damage in a second and a half care? No, it does not. Duel 94 still definitely shows that I am way too cocky. I lost a ton of health at the start again, which made the duel way closer than it had any right to be. Still, I was able to take back the advantage and get vengeance for that death by Dooku. I fought another newer player in Duel 95. If you are new to dueling and are getting discouraged by veterans always beating you, then I'd encourage that you stick with dueling, and I'd highly recommend you watch some tutorial videos. A YouTuber that I would recommend is, me, because I want the views. But seriously, people like the Star Bazaar and Daniel Other create great videos for teaching how to duel. Oh, by the way, I won. Duel 96 was against an old Master Maul who loved his abilities. Don't get me wrong, mainly relying on your abilities as Maul is not a horrible playstyle and can often win you duels. It's just that fighting against an ability-focused Maul can be kind of annoying. Plus, abilities can't always save you. By Duel 97, I had definitely come to realize how good of a counter Anakin is to rash Kylo players. Whenever Kylo uses his Frenzy ability, he is totally vulnerable to knockdown abilities, which allows for Anakin to get a lot of damage in with his combo. Well, Anakin gets a lot of damage in when his heroic might doesn't glitch out. Whatever, I still got him in the end with it. Duel 98, I was just having a bit of fun. I was again fighting a newer player, so I took it a little bit easier on him and let him get in a few hits. Of course, I wasn't too easy on him to give him the win. I did not go very easy on my opponent in Duel 99, however. Here, I was just playing around with my hooks and other techniques, as well as punishing any openings available. Eventually, I put Kenobi to rest, and marched on to one final duel. At long last, Duel 100. I was doing a level 1 Rey, so to spice the last round up, I decided to use no cards on Maul, and to use no abilities at all. I relied heavily on hook swings and parries to win, which I got plenty of. As I fought, I could feel the difference from Duel 1 to now. I'd grown significantly in my ability, to the point that there is no doubt that I had shaken off all the rust from my break. Using the hook swing that I had practiced so much, I ended my journey with one final win. But wait, the greatest challenge has just arrived. That is, getting actual views on this video after the 100 plus hours I spent making it. If you did enjoy the video and want to help spread Battlefront's popularity a little by spreading this video, then liking the video goes a long way. It's literally one free button press and helps my tiny channel out a ton. If you didn't enjoy the video, then I'm sorry to hear that, and I'll try and make the next video even better for you. You can subscribe and comment if you really would like to. Getting to 1,000 subscribers from just this video would be absolutely insane. You could really comment anything too, from possible future video ideas, helpful tips, how trash I am, or even just a random Jabba noise. Seriously though, thanks for watching. May the Force be with you. Peace.